Crow. Croak. Creak. Crack. The Latin craculus. Crackle. Cackle. Crake. Crane. Raven. Rook. Black-backed. Rook. Racked. No. The onomatopoetic theory has not had a fair chance. Crow. Creation. Crea. Crea.
Well, this room is much as one might expect. Iron bedstead, crucifix, washstand, coal fire, a writing table, bare walls. Is someone there? No. A week of silence here. Alone with my thoughts.
He would have come to go on his annual retreat here, something which he always disliked because the whole form of the retreat didn't in fact suit him. It made him go on thinking about himself, and he went round in circles, and the retreat wasn't efficacious to him. It never was. It was a form which he didn't actually like. St. Ignatius's forms of meditation didn't actually work psychologically with Hopkins. They were the psychology of a distant age, of a 16th century soldier, and didn't suit the much more complex psychology of the late 19th century.
But it's not my wishes that matter, only the will of God.
Part of St. Ignatius's way of getting hold of the Jesuit was this annual retreat each year, where the individual had to sum up all the ways in which he had not conformed to the general picture. He had to confess all these, put them out of his mind, become a blank, and then to put into this blank the prescribed forms of behavior. And if ever there was a formalized way of getting rid of individuality, of saying that it was a bad thing, a morally bad thing, this was it.
3 hooks behind the door this time. A very faded piece of carpet.
Yeah, let me see.
Yes, a Charlie under the bed. It's been almost the same room all my life. Boarding school, Oxford, Manresa House, Stonyhurst. Oh, all those small rooms in big communities. All much the same as this, only minor differences. I should feel at home.
He couldn't get back to his family in England for Christmas, and he also felt that there was something wrong with going back to his family. But as a treat, he was allowed to come to Monasterevin, a town in County Kildare, about 50 miles from Dublin, which it was known Hopkins liked, to stay with the Cassidy family, a family where there were mainly women and children, a factor in his life which was very missing. The Cassidys at Monasterevin were very gentle towards him. It was very female. They let him talk away in his Oxford way with his Balliol kind of superiority, and they laughed at his jokes and made him feel an honoured guest.
It's sweet to be a little flattered, and I seldom am, except in the most transparently cringing way. And I love to see family life. Marriage always makes me spoony, especially when people say my wife or my husband. or show their wedding ring. And the Cassidys have such beautiful children.
He probably took the train from Monasterevin to Tullamore, about a 3/4 of an hour's ride, on the morning of January the 1st, 1889. And when he got to Tullamore station, be met by a carriage from Rachen, from this novitiate here, and then would have gone for a 1/4 of an hour's ride through the countryside and arrived at this very bleak area of land.
It's not the room itself, but the outlook that makes for happiness. Of all places, St. Bino's was the most beautiful. Looking out from Gothic windows right down the long-drawn valley of the Clwyd to the sea, and the Snowdon range opposite. The garden, dropping away in terraces, flights of steps bright with geraniums, and the crow's nests where you could shin up and perch in the tree's rigging and wait, and watch the sun dapple the distant mountains. A black Jesuit crow up a crow's nest, ready to fly off to the mountains. The crow of my never. And to wake in my room on a midsummer night, in the white and the walk of the morning, to see the moon rising over my never mountain. I wonder if I shall see the moon or stars while I'm here. Let's see what... It's flat. Tattered streaks of snow, rucked by the wind. Black, bleak, lack, rack, rook, jack, joke.
The only trees being those that are planted in groups as windbreaks, with black lumps of crow's nests there.
Black boughs, damask,
wide open spaces of bogland.
I've no sense of inscape.
A range of buildings, all geometrical, very little decoration on, all done in a bleak Romanesque manner, which was quite contrary to Hopkins's personal tastes, which were all for Gothic, where decoration, where individuality was valued, and here there's the opposite of individuality.
Every place I come to seems to drive me further and further from a sense of home. Oh, it's growing darker. Our evening is over us. Our night whelms, and will end us. I'm here for retreat, a space in which to consider my sins, renew my allegiance, and to ask again the question, what shall I do now for Christ?
Catholicism seemed to embody absolute morality, a morality in which he could believe completely. But it was a very puritanical time in the 19th century, and Hopkins himself didn't want to enjoy himself too much because he knew that he was a blackguard and that he was motivated primarily by pleasure in life, and that this was bad, which is why he joined the Jesuits in the first place, because they were the people who would most control his life in ways which he thought were morally worthy and wouldn't let him indulge himself.
Collecting words.
He felt that his mind wandered too much. He didn't see this as creativity. He saw it as an inability to focus.
Wear, bear, care, and comb them. Fettle, truckle, tackle, trickle, huddle, wimple, tangled, and dandled. List of words. I may teach classical Latin, but I prefer short, strong English words. I try them out to see how they clash, ring together, crash together, rhyme.
round, ring, tuck, string, tell, hung, bell swung, find, tongue, fling, ring. Supper. I must go down.
Behind this is this battle right the way through his life between creativity and doing things which were not prescribed and inventing things on the one hand, and on the other falling back into puritanical accepted ways which nobody could complain about. And he knew he needed his behavior to be controlled 24 hours a day, otherwise he would run riot.
It's getting quite dark. I must light the lamp. Where are the spills? Ah. The fire is dying. Sleet. Or is it snow? I can't tell. No. If only I could see the stars. Lovely asunder starlight. If I could look at all the firefolk sitting in the air. Phrases, short phrases, go round and round in my head for years and keep coming back. The moth soft, Milky Way. Moth soft. The rhyming vowels. The sticky soft consonants like the fur of moth's legs. Like a night moth in the room, banging close, fat and satiny, sensuous, the fluttering touch of its intimacy. And then the Milky Way, the height of the heavens, so deep, so far away, like the frightful distance of God, which we despair to reach without Christ's blood and Our Lady's prayers, and yet flowing with the milk of mercy. Untouchable, you would think, but then moth soft. The moth and the stars, bridging the gap between body and soul, earth and heaven. Fear of the intimacy of the body, fear of the distance of heaven. The moth soft Milky Way, suddenly bringing the distance close. No stars. It will be cold tonight. Oh, my eyes are stinging. This week I must consider my sins in depth. I must compare my unworthiness with the life of Christ. I dread the self-loathing. And there seems to be ink in the inkwell. And a nice quill. I should begin. I don't know which I dread more. The examination of myself this week, or the examinations I must return to at the university, the endless marking of students in Greek or Latin. The work is so dull. Correcting stupidity. I am bleared, smeared with toil, care coiled, care killed.
fagged, fashed, cogged, cumbered.
There would be a uniformity about Jesuit rooms.
Take off my black, my crow feathers.
There would be the bed against the wall.
Yeah.
There would be a prie-dieu.
Just wash my hands and face. Where did I put my soap for my eczema? No, I haven't unpacked. There's a slight film over the water. Such shapes.
There would be the crucifix on the wall above the bed automatically. A writing table, some hooks, and probably an easy chair, certainly a sitting chair.
Not very comfortable.
But just about nothing else at all. I think it would be very unlikely. And the room would have no decoration.
Where's my Bible? Oh, yes, I was reading Jeremiah on the train. Let's see.
Hopkins would have brought with him his copy of the Vulgate, which he bought in Birmingham on the day that he was received into the Catholic Church, and from which he took the text of Jeremiah.
Justus quidem tuae Domine si disputem.
And it would be very well thumbed this stage in his life.
Thou art indeed just, Lord. But, sir, but I shall speak as just too. I'll pray and then I'll sleep. Pater noster qui es in caelis sanctificationem. The water's wide and deep. It's growing dark. There are young men on the bank preparing to bathe. I watch them and wonder if they're soldiers or students. There's a boy fighting for a towel. It's like that painting by Frederick Walker. He lets go of the towel. I'm joining them. I can't help myself. I'm naked too. But I know they're all getting married. And you can only swim if you're going to be married. But I want to swim. I love bathing. They're lining up now to dive into the water. I step back. I'm not going to be married, so I know I mustn't dive in. I go behind them to watch. They line up, ready to dive together. They bend over, legs apart. There is a darkness between their legs. It's moth soft. The moth soft, milky way. Limber liquid that all I teach yields tender as a pushed peach. Sweet looks, loose locks, long locks, love locks, gay gear, going gallant, girl, grace. It gathers to a greatness like the ooze of oil crushed, lush-kept, flush-capped, flesh burst, gush, flush, prim in a flash, full, billion million, zillion, vermilion, stallion. All is in an enormous dark.
Sir, don't, please! Sir!
I wake in utter loathing, in a sweat in spite of the cold. Half asleep, I cannot escape old habits that should by now be crushed, conquered. My body disappoints me. I'm small, weak, precious, unmanly. I have fasted, I have whipped myself. Nothing can cure me of myself. I've had operations for piles, circumcision. I have continual diarrhea, pains in my eyes, in my head. As a soldier of Christ, I am the weakest of foot soldiers. God, why have you deserted me? Give me your strength, sir, or let me die. It's morning.
At that time of year, there wouldn't have been any birds evident apart from the crows. There'd been the break of a walk to the Jesuit cemetery. They'd have been very strictly on their own. Everybody would have been dressed in Jesuit dress, of course. It was all black. It's possible that he may have seen one or two of them before in his Jesuit life, pass through places where he was, but as they didn't speak, they'd have had to purposely ignore anybody who they knew. So again, it was a purposely created hostile environment. So there was a real feeling of foreignness about Gerard Hopkins. He was known for not sitting down at table with the others, for staying in his room, for walking about drinking coffee rather than sitting at table with the others.
Am I really so singular? Cranky, creaky, crooked, crick, crock, croak. First principle. Man has been created to praise, reverence, and serve our Lord God.
Then he comes down to start writing his retreat notes on his present situation.
But how is it with me? I was a Christian from birth. Later, I was converted to the Catholic Church and am enlisted 20 years in the Society of Jesus. I am 44. I do not waver in my allegiance. I never have, since my conversion to the Church. I am in the right.
The question is how I advance the side I serve on. What do I do for the right? Outwardly, I often think I am employed to do what is of little or no use.
The whole idea of creating happiness within yourself, as St. Ignatius designed in his exercises, he can't in fact do. He can't actually get a picture of happiness.
I was continuing this train of thought this evening when I began to enter on that course of loathing and hopelessness which I had so often felt before, and which made me fear madness. It's dark out. I can see myself reflected in the window. I look very small and old womanish. I must close the shutters. I don't often see a mirror. One eyebrow seems to lift. Do what I can. I look dry and superior. They tell us Jesus was moderately tall, his hair inclining to auburn, parted in the midst. His body was strong, healthy and beautiful, the special work of the Holy Ghost, of whom it will be unworthy to leave the least failing. How infinitely I fall short. The time to mend is running out. I'm soft sift in an hourglass, undermined by drift to a final fall. Soft sift. I see him on the cross. He seems to say, I have died for you. What have you done for me? The frown of his face before me, the hurtle of hell behind. He is mine, my friend, never mine enemy. But he took a whip and single-handedly cleared the temple. Above all others, I should fear him. Lightning and a lashed rod, thy terror, O Christ, O God. That course of loathing and helplessness, which I have so often felt before and which made me fear madness, and led me to give up meditation. Except as now, in retreat. And here it is again, this bitter taste of myself. Oh, my shame, my guilt, my fate. Even God cannot taste the sense of self as I taste it. But it's not to him that the shame, the guilt, the fatal consequence comes home. I must pray. Let me not taste my own gall, my heartburn. Let me taste God. He is called light that we may see him, word that we may hear him, bread that we may taste him, oil that we may smell him, flesh that we might touch him. All I can touch, all I can taste is myself. The lost are like this, lying in their own sweat. But worse. It must be worse for them. I cannot be damned. I've never doubted my allegiance. Then why this? I can only submit myself to God's judgment. He decreed we should be separate. I must be patient. Wait. But for how long? Patience is like ivy. It strangles, it kills. I'm not St. Alphonsus. I cannot watch the door till I die. I'd rather die suddenly, drown, or... Oh, the mind has mountains, cliffs of fall. 3 of my friends at Oxford have died of drowning. By accident or by suicide. pray not to be tormented, not to be tempted.
I'm drowning in my sleep. My body burns like lost souls burn, without flame, in the dark lake. Oh, Jesus, be with me, comfort me. Is this how the souls in hell are imprisoned in their bodies? Self-wrung, self-strung, sheathed and shelterless, thoughts against thoughts in groans, grind.
And he realizes that his meditation, in fact, is not doing him any good. It's following the same course as his meditations often have done in the past, going round in circles and making him more depressed, rather than doing what Ignatius intended, which was to make a clean slate and start again.
I could therefore do no more than repeat, Justus est Domine, thou art just, Lord, et rectum judicium tuum, and right in your judgments, and the like. And then, being tired,
a high rock in a narrow place, frightful, sheer, no man fathomed. There's no rescue. Pieces of the ledge are dropping into the abyss and out of sight. I'm trying to hold on to a few strings of tree root. Far below, on the plain, armies are gathering under the standards of good and evil. The greater forces are for evil, swarming thickly over the whole plain like insects on a ceiling. I know the standard of Christ is surrounded by the thralls of the enemy, by lust and depravity. I'm doing nothing, terrified of falling. I'm stuck, impotent, straining to no purpose. Time is slipping away, soft, swift, slipping. Ah! Thou art just, Lord, and right!
Then he talks about my wretched life. 5 wasted years have passed in Ireland. And he's still keeping within some of the conditions of Jeremiah here, of exile, of useless exile.
What is my wretched life? 5 wasted years, almost, have passed in Ireland. I'm ashamed of the little I have done, of my waste of time. Although, what is life without aim, without spur, without help? All my undertakings miscarry, and I am like a straining eunuch. I wish then for death, and yet if I died now, I should die imperfect, no master of myself, and that is the worst failure of all. Oh my God, look down on me.
It's obviously to do with failure, but when he quotes Jeremiah, it shows that there is also a wanting to answer God back, as the failure is not only his own fault, it's partly to do with the lack of recognition of what he is and what he's doing within the Jesuits.
Jeremiah compares himself to the odd bird out in a group attacked by all the other birds of prey for its different coloured markings. Why do you let it happen, Lord? And how long must I bear it?
Jeremiah wasn't a set meditation for that time of year. It was a set meditation if you felt in a particular way and you wanted a way out of that kind of feeling. So Hopkins does in fact choose it. It's not the text of the day.
If I could but produce work, I should not mind being buried, silenced, and going no further. But it kills me to be time's eunuch and never to beget.
Yet I seem but half a man. I try to write, but find myself so tired or harassed, I see no prospect of my doing much in poetry or anything at all. I live in a coffin of weakness and dejection, without even the hope of change. In my opinion, official discouragement is not what my complaint needs. I absolutely need encouragement, as crops or trees need rain. But a perfect organization for crippling me exists, and it's had all the effect that could be wished, and more. I doubt that anything of mine will ever endure. And yet I can hardly think at all without poetry. Yet, despite myself, even my complaints collect words around them that are especial to me. And those words seem to search for a shape, however helplessly. Thwart, thrall, thrive, worse, dust, sorts, lust, fretty, fresh, build, breed, plead. Thou art indeed just, Lord.
When he comes to write the poem, he uses a form which has been used both in literature and in the church of starting off with a text from the Bible and then continuing in your own voice, of elaborating it as though you're proving it. It starts off as though it is utterly reasonable, and then gets more and more unreasonable by uncovering paradox after paradox in Jeremiah's treatment by God and Jeremiah's questioning of why, if he is the chosen prophet of God, is God giving success to his enemies and not to himself? Why is he not being properly treated by his countrymen?
Now this will run over into the sestet. Oh, it doesn't matter. Then I must find a shock, a complete change. No. Oh, this is idle. Next day, a repetition of the first and second exercises. Second exercise, third heading. 4. Let me look at the foulness and ugliness of my body. 5. Let me see myself in a monstrous sin, running in every kind of horrible and disgusting poison. Helpless loathing. Then I went out. I could bear the room no longer. I tried the discipline of the eyes and walk with eyes down, not to be tempted by any beauty. Soon the path comes to a blank end, and I'm forced to look up. But there is nothing there but the grey sky and occasional crows hanging in the trees. Where are the lovely silk-sack clouds, the wilful wavy meal drift, moulded, melted glory in the heavens? The real, the round replies. I must return to the room. I must be patient. Give comfort, root rule. I think of the spring, soon in England. Nothing is so beautiful. How the birds will rebuild their nests in the hedges. How thick will be the hedgerows with wild parsley. How all God's creatures will be praising him again. The Te Deum. Te Deum ad almas te dominum competimo, te aeternum patrum omnis te revereatur, te beatus, te And yet I thought, what was needed was not praise of God, but amendment of life.
And so, in fact, if ever there was an example of a retreat which did not work, this seemed to be it. In this room, whether you believe in God or not, there's no sign in these retreat notes of any kind of response. The words are just bouncing back off the walls, and there's no response. And when we consider this is the beginning of the last year of his life, it's almost as though he knows that death is somewhere near, and this place suggests death to him. He said he wishes for death, and if he had been non-religious, and perhaps if he'd been a slightly different age as well, he probably would have committed suicide, you know. And there is no potential, there's nothing positive left.
Thou art indeed just, Lord, if I contend with thee. But, sir, so what I plead is just. Why do sinners' ways prosper? And why must disappointment all I endeavour end? Wert thou my enemy, O thou my friend, how wouldst thou worse, I wonder, than thou dost defeat, thwart me? Oh, the sots and thralls of lust do in spare hours more thrive than I that spend, sir, life upon thy cause. See, banks and breaks now, leaved how thick, laced they are again with fretty chervil. Look, and fresh wind shakes them. Birds build, but not I build, no, but strain time's eunuch, and not breed one work that wakes. Mine, O thou Lord of life, send my roots rain. How then can it be pretended that there is, for those who feel this, anything worth calling happiness in this world? There is a happiness, hope, the anticipation of happiness hereafter. It is better than happiness, but it is not happiness now. It is as if one were dazzled by a spark or a star in the dark, seeing it, but not seeing by it. We want a light shed on our way, and a happiness spread over our life. Mine, O thou Lord of life, send my roots rain.
In Send My Roots Rain, Norman White was talking about Gerard Manley Hopkins and the writing of the poem, Thou Art Indeed Just, Lord. Hopkins was played by Derek Jacobi, the script was written by Geoffrey Beevers, and the programme was produced in Birmingham by Rosie Bolton and Peter Leslie Wilde.